Declutter Advice Needed. Welcome to the first episode of Declutter Advice Needed. My name is Rachel and I am your host, and this podcast is designed to support you on your decluttering journey. Listen whilst you're cleaning or sorting out areas of your home to help you feel inspired and motivated to keep going. I want to share with you anecdotes of my personal journey, as well as thoughts from working in people's homes, success stories to celebrate those small wins, and remind you that although this is a journey, there will be times to celebrate along the way, and advice requests to help you work through difficult areas. Initially, I will share examples from Reddit, but as we build our community, I would love to share more of your stories and questions. So pop your headphones in, find an area to work through, and let's do this together. We're going to start with some declutter advice stories. Title: We donate most gifts given to us. Like a lot of people during the pandemic, my husband and I successfully filled our house up with junk. At one point, I had over 250 purses, and my husband had 5 computers. It all just became too much. Over time, we had sold, donated, purged most of it, and have committed to not ever letting it get that bad again. The problem, and I say this lightly because I suppose it's a good problem to have, is we have so many friends and family that get us gifts, but it's all useless junk. Whether it's for Christmas, birthdays, or souvenirs when they travel, they come bearing an insane amount of gifts. Don't get me wrong, I love being thought about. My love language is also gift giving, but I've switched it up to food, alcohol, jewellery, and cash. Stuff that can be used, ate, or drank. We have asked for the same: get us something to eat or something we can use. No one listens. This past Christmas, I donated so many presents to the women's shelter, they know me by name. Has anyone been able to get through to relatives? I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I realise this is the epitome of first world problems, and I apologise for complaining, but figured this group would understand. In response, I personally think that you need to keep doing what you are doing. Keep leading by example. Know that you have good principles in place and that you should be celebrated. It's lovely to be thought about, but I can imagine it gets overwhelming when you have to keep making donations like this. However, if they enjoy giving, there's only so much you can say without offending people. They also are gift givers and want to recognise you. So keep being thankful and keep reminding of consumables, etc. And also keep donating. There are a few comments on Reddit. Some people have said, I never got through to the relatives, but they demanded lists, so I started using the wish list of the local women's shelter and just taking things directly there. There are people in the world who don't have enough scented lotions. I'm just not one of them. Another person said, since I was a teenager, I have returned or given away gifts I didn't like. My vibe is Rachel Green in that one episode of Friends. No one has taken it personally. My family no longer gifts me anything. They occasionally send me cash so that we can go out for dinner. My partner also doesn't do gifts. Another great suggestion: keep a public wish list for gifts that you do want. Share this liberally. Amazon make this easy, so always suggest things like consumable and experiences. It's just another way of leading the way and leading by example. I have another advice request. Help. I have a dramatic move coming up and decluttering seems impossibly overwhelming. I'm moving across the country in a month and I'm not taking a moving truck. The only things I can bring with me are what fits in my checked bag and whatever seems worth shipping. It's a huge purge and it's making me nervous. I once had my car stolen with all my belongings in it, and I can't get over the feeling of the same kind of helplessness in this situation. What advice do you all have on getting rid of all the things that you thought you needed when you bought them? Are there things in particular that you regret losing that I should make sure I keep? I just don't know where to begin, and any help would be appreciated. This sounds like an exciting but overwhelming task at first. My thoughts are to think of your favourite items that you love first. These are the items that are worth keeping. These are the things that will make your home feel like a home. Everything else is just stuff that can be easily replaced. I would try and sell as much as you can to fund buying the items when you get to the new location, so sell in job lots as well. So some responses on Reddit. When we married 40 years ago, we moved to Europe so my husband could study. We moved 2 bicycles and 2 trunks and a lot of suitcases. We took bedding, winter clothes, some small kitchen gadgets. What we didn't take and wish we had were things that make our furnished flats feel like home. Things like books, pictures and art, things that would make your house feel less like someone else's. And another great suggestion is think backwards, go through your stuff and pick out the absolute essentials and things that you adore. Take pictures of sentimental items. Realise that most items that are usable and handy can be repurchased if you need them and probably cheaper than packing and shipping. Good luck. Another advice question. I have too many towels, blankets, pillows, dish towels and rags. Where do I start? It's just all overwhelming. I don't know how to narrow down my blankets, pillows, especially, but the towels and dishcloths are just overwhelming. Any advice? My initial response is I would say a couple of towels per person is enough. The only time you may need additional is if you've got young children or dogs, as well as beach towels, perhaps. With dishcloths, they can be washed quite regularly. I have enough for about 7 days, and there's usually a couple in the wash or drying, and then a couple ready to use. Blankets, I have one per person downstairs, as I always like to have a blanket on the sofa, and upstairs I have one blanket on the bed in winter, so that depends on preferences, as not everyone wants one on their bed. Some good advice on Reddit is I have just this week been going through the exact same items and did the following. All the towels, dishcloths, etc. in the kitchen cabinets have been downsized to what fits in one cabinet only, comfortably. I got rid of the least used, oldest and least liked cloths and towels. I brought them to textile pickup boxes and they are in every neighbourhood here, so I think that's in America. Same in the shower, I got rid of all the odd sized or different coloured towels and washcloths. Everything is just white now, it's calm on the eyes and it's wonderful. So that's another thought. You could get rid of ones that don't match your colour scheme, or you could get rid of any of them that are scratchy or quite old. For bedding, I've only kept the best quality bed covers, and she said that she's done a lot of textile recycling at a local recycle centre. Another advice, animal shelters can use towels and blankets, so that's always worth considering, and because they quite often will use them and have to throw them, so they go through quite a lot. So it's definitely worth looking at animal shelters for donating as well. Let's share some reflections on the things that we've decluttered. One example is, what is the oldest thing you have decluttered this week? I have just found caramel sauce for ice cream in my fridge that expired in 2022. I can up that. I have successfully managed to hoard an 18th birthday celebratory wine glass, brand new in packaging. For 18 years, it has moved into 7 different houses, so that's quite impressive. And I've since donated the item to a charity shop. What's the oldest thing that you have decluttered? Now let's talk some success stories. The first one is titled Notes from a Great First Session with a Declutter Organisation Professional Today. This time last night I was so nervous about having a professional come and help me with my messy and cluttered house. I was nervous all morning. I completely lost track of time the whole time she was here because I stayed so focused. I stayed nervous, on edge the whole time, though intellectually I could tell we were making progress. It didn't feel good or satisfying until maybe an hour after we had put everything back together and she was gone. I wonder if future visits will feel better in the moment. She asked where I'd like to start. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect her to ask me what to do first. I said that the 3 most important rooms to do was the living room, the kitchen and the dining room, and I thought the kitchen would be too much and the dining room had been the worst, the longest, and the living room was where I spent the most time, so I decided that we would start in my living room. After a little over 2 hours, the living room was done, really and truly done. I hadn't just shuffled things around. Stuff was where it's supposed to go, either in the house or into the garbage or donations. For the first time in my life, I took care of everything related to the trip I had just come back from, and the very next day after getting home. I usually drag my feet and whine about undoing all the luggage. Sometimes I still have to pack for the next trip. I dumped out my bags that had been sitting in for months. I dealt with mementos, some of which I was okay with throwing away, and others I put in an appropriate box out of the way. I saw clothes I'd forgotten I had. Before today, I would have sworn that there wasn't really any trash in this room, but I found trash that was hiding underneath other stuff. She also helped me figure out what I needed to make the living room work. Once I got all of it out in the open, I realised I needed a bookshelf and a container to hold games. So I ordered the container to hold games, bought a bookshelf off Facebook Marketplace, and my kid moved the books into their new home tonight. When the container for games arrive, it will go where the books had been previously. I took out 2 heavy bags of trash, some of which I didn't realise was trash from the previous many months, but here we are. I could see that it was trash. I delivered a whole box of stuff that goes to my mum's house. She took a box of donations away to drop off for me. Only a handful of items still remain that I truly don't know where they go, and when she comes back, we might have more insights on those as we address other spaces in the house. I'm thinking the dining room. I was able to vacuum my living room wall to wall for the first time in over a year. It felt so good to hear that dirt getting sucked up. That was the most satisfying feeling in the whole session. Again, I still don't feel as happy as I imagined I might, but I feel accomplished and the upset feelings have definitely subsided. I also feel motivated to keep going because of the success of today's accomplishments. That is so lovely to hear, and I think that resonates a lot. I think it can feel overwhelming in the process. It doesn't always feel calm, it doesn't always feel okay, but as you keep doing sessions, it definitely improves and it definitely feels more comfortable and it feels more progressive. Another success story is titled It's Worth It. Almost a year later, I can say definitely it's the best thing you can do. I've had big purges and also small victories from noticing an item and getting rid of it. I can't remember any of the stuff I've gotten rid of, but I absolutely noticed the open space. I'm loving how free I am, how easy it is to find the things I do use, and how much more I like my house. Also, depressive stages are much more manageable now, so do it, purge, get rid of it. It's really nice to see that reflection as you move forward. I decluttered my home over about 3 years and it still is ongoing. There's still moments where I think there's too much stuff and I need to work through. But every time you go through it, it makes it easier. It's easier to manage. It's easier to keep going. So I highly recommend just keep at it and keep working through your spaces because you will get there. Decluttering is absolutely a journey and it will take time, but there are some things that you can do that can help you feel successful. So let's share a couple of tips that will just get you started today. So make sure you're sorting into 4 containers: items to keep, donate, to sell, and to recycle or rubbish. Put them into bags or boxes so that it's contained, and when you've finished in an area, you can then just know that it's already tidied because they are contained in those boxes. Obviously, everything you're going to keep, you're going to put back, but it means that the rubbish can then just go straight in the bin or in the recycling, and things you want to donate are already bagged up, ready to take. So it just means that it's manageable. I also recommend you start small, do little areas at a time, like 1 drawer, 1 cupboard, 1 shelf. Don't try and do the whole room because that's when you start moving from place to place. Decide what that space is meant to be, how it's meant to be used, and put only those things back. Anything else you could put in a maybe box for the time being as you start working through those small areas. Thank you for listening to Declutter Advice Needed. My name is Rachel, I've been your host, and I shall be back for more advice stories, success stories, and tips for success as we move through in a future episode.